Well, hello. I wanted to bring to your attention some remarks by Irenaeus, another early church father, in his book of Against Heresies. This would actually be in his third book and the 11th chapter and the 8th and also the ninth paragraphs of chapter 11, book 3, Against Heresies. Irenaeus is writing approximately 180 of the current era, and it's interesting to note that it is at that time that there's a big flurry, a big to-do about the Gospels and which ones are correct and which ones should be accepted and which ones should not. And in this section of his writing, he's writing against the gospel of truth, or in modern vernacular, we would just simply say the true gospel. Just like we don't say a car of red, we say a red car. But this is what Irenaeus has to say, and it's interesting because he keeps making allusions to the zodiac, even though we're told that Jesus is not the sun and would not be the sun in any of these constellations. This is his arguments about what the correct number of books are and what the Gospels are like and everything else. He keeps making allusions to the zodiac. Now, the Gospels in which Christ are enthroned. This is speaking of the Gospel of Matthew. Of course, Matthew proclaims his human birth, saying the book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, son of Abraham, the birth of Jesus Christ was in this manner, for this gospel is man-like. So in other words, this is an allusion to the sign of Aquarius. Now he jumps to Mark. Mark takes his beginning from the prophetic spirit who comes on men from on high, saying the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, as it is written in Isaiah the prophet, and shows a winged image of the gospel. Therefore he made his message compendious and summary, for such is the prophetic character. It seems more like Matthew's much more prophetic than Mark, but this is what he says. And of course, by this winged image, he's talking about the constellation of Scorpio, which in his time was not a scorpion, but an eagle. Then he jumps to Luke. According to Luke, having a priestly character, began with the priest Zacharias offering incense to God, for the fatted calf was already being prepared, which was to be sacrificed for the finding of the younger son. And so here he's making allusion to the fatted calf, or the ox, which is Taurus, the age of Taurus. And finally we jump to the next quarter of the zodiac, and now the Gospels in which Christ is enthroned are like these, that according to John expounds his princely and his mighty and glorious birth from the Father. So in other words, the princely, the mighty, Leo, the lion. And he goes on to say that the Gospels could not possibly be either more or less in number than they are, since there are 4 zones in the world in which we live, and 4 principal winds, while the church is spread over all the earth. This is 180 AD, you remember. And the pillar and the foundation of the church is the gospel, and the Spirit of life, and fittingly has 4 pillars, everywhere breathing out incorruption and revivifying men. Doesn't sound like the church that we know today at all. Everywhere breathing out incorruption. More like character assassination. From this it is clear that the Word, the artificer of all things, being manifest to men, gave us the gospel fourfold in form, but held together with one Spirit. As David said when asking for his coming, O sitter upon the cherubim, show yourself, for the cherubim have 4 faces, and their faces are the images of the activity of the Son of God. And of course then goes through and describes the 4 signs which we've already mentioned. I wanted to show you this. This is a silver drachma. This is Yahweh sitting on a winged cherubim. In other words, a winged chariot. And this is another Greek sun god in the same type of setting, sitting on a winged chariot. Just as the sun is usually depicted on a zodiac, the sun on its chariot riding through the 12 signs of the zodiac. The cherubim have 4 faces, and their faces are the images of the activity of the Son of God. Now he goes on and he argues against the gospel of truth. The gospel of truth, which was written by the Gnostics at the time. And of course, this is who he is arguing against the Gnostics. But he kind of contradicts himself. I don't think he meant to, but this is exactly what he did. And when I'm going to read this, I'm going to say the true gospel, even though it says the gospel of truth, because in modern vernacular, it will make more sense to you. But the followers of Valentus, putting away all fear, bring forward their own compositions and boast that they have more gospels than really exist. So in other words, he's trying to tell us that even though they have a gospel, it doesn't really exist. The only ones that really exist, and we know from studying that there are many, many gospels out there, not just the 4 that were chosen by the church and included in our Bibles today. But the followers of Valentinus, putting away all fear, bring forward their own compositions and boast that they have more gospels than really exist. Indeed, their audacity has gone so far that they entitle their recent composition the Gospel of Truth, or the True Gospel. And it agrees in nothing with the Gospels of the Apostles. And so no gospel of theirs is free from blasphemy. Why? Because it doesn't agree with the 4 Gospels that Irenaeus says that we have to have. Why? Why only 4? Boils down to just because. And if they produce, what they produce is the gospel of truth, or is the true gospel. This is very interesting. If what they produce is the true gospel, and is different from those which the apostles handed down to us, those who care to can learn how it can be shown from the scriptures themselves that what is handed down to us from the apostles is not the true gospel. But then he jumps on, but it's not possible because we can only have 4